Okay, let's dive into this. You know the exact feeling, right? It's 11:30 at night, the blue light from your phone is just burning your eyes, and you're endlessly scrolling through used car listings. You're completely exhausted. You literally just want a reliable vehicle, but the fear of making a massive financial mistake keeps you trapped in this endless loop of hesitation and fatigue. You look at dozens of cars online, but when it finally comes time to go look at one in person, you feel entirely overwhelmed. Well, today, we're going to use the 2011 to 2014 Subaru Forester as our ultimate case study in breaking that cycle. We're exploring the quiet art of inspection. Now, this isn't about becoming a master mechanic overnight. It's about applying tiny, consistent pre-purchase habits that build your confidence and protect you from expensive regret.
So, why do we keep repeating the exact same buying mistakes time and time again? Honestly, it really comes down to the quiet anxiety of the whole process. Buying a used car is incredibly stressful. You're standing out there in some stranger's driveway or maybe a high-pressure dealership lot, and the overwhelming temptation is to just skip the deep, careful checks. You tell yourself, look, it looks fine, it sounds fine, I just want to get this over with. We surrender our discipline to convenience. But skipping those small, consistent checks is exactly how we inherit someone else's expensive, hidden problem. We're going to stop that cycle today by focusing on small, deliberate actions.
It's so easy to fall into this illusion when we're shopping. On one hand, we have what I call buying the badge. I mean, a car like the 2011 to 2014 Subaru Forester makes a ton of sense on paper. It's got all-wheel drive, incredible cargo space, it looks immensely practical, and it just feels like the ultimate safe family vehicle. You see the badge and you think, hey, it's a Subaru, I'm good. But on the other hand, we have buying the reality. Actually, scratch that. It's more like facing the reality. The reality of this specific vehicle is that behind that practical badge could be a totally unknown oil history and completely missing service records. When we're exhausted and distracted, we buy the badge. We buy the idea of the car rather than the mechanical reality sitting right in front of us.
Now, I want this quote to really sink in for a second. A used buyer should not buy the badge. A used buyer should check the engine history. Making a truly smart purchase requires a real shift in your identity as a buyer. You kind of have to stop being someone who just relies on the warm, fuzzy feeling of a brand name and start being someone who relies entirely on evidence. The risky part of buying a 2011 to 2014 Forester isn't the idea of the SUV. It's a fantastic concept for a vehicle. The true risk is buying one that's been quietly suffering from an engine issue and the seller simply isn't telling you.
And that brings us to the specific, hidden shadow of this exact model. The 2011 to 2014 Subaru Forester comes with a 2.5-liter FB engine, and, well, this engine has a very well-documented issue: unusual engine oil consumption. We're talking about a problem linked directly to the oil control piston rings. This isn't just about a car burning a tiny bit of oil because it's getting older. No, this is an unusual, accelerated oil loss that can easily hide behind a recently washed engine bay and a fresh coat of wax. This is exactly the kind of hidden detail that punishes the distracted buyer and rewards the disciplined, focused inspector.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, so what's the big deal? Just add a quart of oil every now and then, right? Well, no. So the crucial point is, if this oil consumption issue is present and actually verified, Subaru's own technical bulletin confirms that affected vehicles were no longer repaired by simply swapping out those little piston rings. No way. The repair procedure escalated to replacing the entire engine short block assembly. Let that sink in for a minute. Low oil in this specific Forester is not just some minor maintenance inconvenience. It is the early warning sign of a massive, catastrophic repair bill waiting to drop squarely on your shoulders.
If that sounds completely terrifying, hey, take a deep breath. We're pivoting right now from anxiety to absolute empowerment. You don't need extreme, rock-solid discipline, and you certainly don't need to be a master mechanic to protect yourself. You just need a little consistency. We're going to implement a simple, manageable, 3-step micro-habit checklist. Just 3 quiet checks. 1. The dipstick and PCV check. 2. The low oil warning history. And 3. Proof of records and tests. If you can commit to just doing these 3 things, you will build a wall of quiet confidence that cuts right through the noise of any used car transaction. Let's break them down.
All right, step 1 is the absolute most fundamental physical habit, the dipstick and PCV check. Before you even get in for a test drive, like with a cold engine on level ground, pull the dipstick, wipe it off, and check the level. Then do it again after the drive, looking for any weird discrepancies. Next, take out your phone flashlight and shine it on the PCV system. That's the positive crankcase ventilation system. If there's unusual oil residue built up around it or the engine intake area, that is a massive physical clue. It's a tiny habit, literally just checking a stick of metal and looking down a tube, but it immediately grounds you in the physical reality of the engine.
Let's move to step 2 and see how this dilds. Step 2 is investigating the low oil warning light. On some of these models, the low oil level warning light illuminates when the oil drops, sure, but Subaru also notes that specific driving conditions can trigger some pretty confusing behavior. Hard acceleration, hard braking, taking tight turns, or even just driving over hilly, uneven roads can all cause the light to act up. This is absolutely vital to know because it means the warning light might actually be masked today. If the seller just drove it gently on flat suburban roads right before you arrived, that dashboard might look perfectly clean and clear.
Which leads perfectly to this crucial mindset shift. No light today does not prove no problem. You absolutely cannot just stare at a blank dashboard during a 10-minute simple test drive and assume everything is mechanically sound. You have to actively ask the seller direct questions, like literally look them in the eye and ask, hey, has the low oil warning lamp ever come on before? Ask if they've ever had to add oil between their regular services. By asking these questions, you're taking total control of the interaction. You aren't just passively accepting what the car is showing you right this second. You are actively investigating its history.
Now, what's really interesting about this next step is the third check, proof of records. And the magic number you're looking for here is 1200. Because this oil consumption issue was so incredibly well documented by Subaru, there was an official protocol. If an owner complained about oil loss, the dealership performed an official oil consumption test. The owner basically had to drive the car for around 1,200 miles and then bring it right back so the dealer could correctly measure the exact oil level drop. When you're looking at the service records for 2011 to 2014 Forester, you are actively hunting for proof that this 1,200-mile test was completed and what the ultimate result was.
And here is a calm, grounding reality check for you. If you ask about that 1,200-mile test, or if you ask for the service records, and the seller suddenly gets all vague, if they just wave their hand and say, oh, these engines just burn a little oil, I just top it off every few weeks, no big deal, that is a massive red flag. A promise that you can just top it off is not a maintenance plan. Missing information is risk. If there's no actual diagnosis paperwork, if there are no records of oil changes, you are standing on the edge of a very steep financial cliff.
This really needs to become your new mantra. Ask for proof, not promises. It's so easy to feel like you're being difficult or annoying when you demand documentation, right? We naturally just want to be agreeable. But you've got to realize that asking for proof is a mindful, protective habit. It's self-discipline in action. You are protecting your future self from inheriting someone else's expensive mystery. If the car had the short block replaced because of the oil issue, there will be paperwork. If it was meticulously maintained, there will be paperwork. Accept absolutely nothing less than hard proof. And this brilliantly illustrates our next point. When you're making your final decision, please do not get distracted by the trim level. It really doesn't matter if it has those nice leather seats, the premium wheels, or a perfect silver paint job. History matters way more than trim. A safer choice is a Forester with a neat little folder of clean service records, no history of that low oil light illuminating, and solid proof of repair if it ever failed an oil consumption test. A risky choice is a Forester with completely missing records, a seller who casually admits to regularly topping off the oil, and a totally unknown engine history. Always buy the condition and the records, never the color or the fancy options.
The ultimate tool you have in this quiet art of inspection is your own 2 feet. If you pull the dipstick and the oil is low, if the seller gives you vague, dodgy answers about the warning light, or if the service records are just completely missing, you walk away. And here's the big mindset shift. Walking away after finding unexplained oil loss isn't a failure. It doesn't mean you wasted your whole evening. It is a massive victory of self-discipline. It means your new habits actually worked. You successfully inspected the vehicle, identified a huge hidden risk, and exercised the mindful control to just walk away with your wallet fully intact.
So, as we wrap things up here, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to take into your next used car search. When you're standing in that driveway, looking at that practical, shiny SUV, ask yourself, will you buy an engine mystery based purely on a brand name, or will you choose the quiet confidence of documented history? You've got the checklist now. Just pick your 3 small, consistent checks to start. Rely on the evidence, demand the paperwork, and take full control of the process. The power to make a smart, regret-free purchase is entirely in your hands.